In a time still to come, in the world after this one, near the city of Helicon, lived the maiden Kakalanna. Kakalanna came from a small village nestled beside the forest of Vulbos, with the outliers of the wood coming right down to the edges of the village. Kakalanna loved the forest and spent a lot of her time wandering deep in its glades, gathering the wild produce for her own table and to trade. She became knowledgeable in the ways of the woods, herbalism, and the behaviour of the animals. Kakalanna learned to sing from the birds of the wood, and she sang so beautifully that the birds would come to where she sang and sing along with her. The word about Kakalanna passed through the forest, and even the predators came to see this beautiful maid, and to listen to her song. Kakalanna could walk the forest without any danger or worry, as all the creatures of the woodland loved her. Unfortunately for Kakalanna, the fiend set his eye on Helicon, and sent one of his servants, the demon Deathloomer, to destroy the city. The demon made its way there, but during its approach it passed by the Vulbos and heard the most enchanting song it had ever heard. Now, demons cannot stand things of beauty, and Deathloomer had to investigate, because the song was causing it a niggling pain in its being. When Deathloomer appeared in front of her, Kakalanna saw a shadow in the air, standing 20 feet tall and containing claws, blades, and teeth that formed and disappeared into the darkness. All the animals fled the presence of the demon, except for one small yellow bird that hid itself behind some leaves. Kakalanna was terrified and could do nothing but shiver as a voice came out of the shadow form. "I am Deathloomer, and I will bring my army to destroy the city of Helicon and all the areas round here. The buildings shall be laid low, the forest shall burn, and the people will be my slaves." Kakalanna was deathly afraid of the lethal whisper from the demon, but she managed to say, "Please do not, dread lord." "Excellent," said the demon. "Then you will be willing to perform some simple tasks for me. If you do so, I promise that I will not wreak the devastation I had planned upon this area." It reached forth a hand-shaped shadow, and lo, there was a leaf of a chestnut tree therein. "Bring here 10,000 leaves of the same size and hue as this one, before the morning. If you do not do this, I shall lay waste the city and these lands." And the demon disappeared. Kakalanna mourned at this, as she could see no way to accomplish the task. As she sat weeping, the little yellow bird came and sat beside her. "Darling Kakalanna," it chirped, "why do you weep so? The demon has left, and the sun shines once more." "Alas, little bird," Kakalanna said, "Deathloomer has tasked me with collecting 10,000 leaves, identical to that one, before dawn. If I do not accomplish this, the demon will destroy the city and the forest." "Do not worry, fair Kakalanna," said the yellow bird. "Go home and rest through the night, but come back here before dawn." Kakalanna went home, full of worry, and did her chores around the house, and then went to bed. She did not sleep well, and woke up before dawn and hurried off to the forest. When she arrived at the glade where she had met Deathloomer, she found a pile of leaves almost identical to the one the demon had shown her, and hundreds of birds flying in, each dropping off a leaf before flying off. By dawn, all the birds had flown away, except the little yellow bird, who went to hide behind a tree again. When the demon appeared, it took a single glance at the immense pile of leaves. Its darkness glowed red in anger, and its eyes flashed with sparks. The clouds gathered overhead, and the leaves ignited and burned in a second. Deathloomer frowned. It reached forth a hand-shaped shadow, and lo, there was a smooth white pebble of quartz therein. "Bring here 100,000 of stones of the same size and hue as this one, before the morning. If you do not do this, I shall lay waste the city and these lands." And the demon disappeared. Once again Kakalanna was distraught, and sat weeping, and once again the little yellow bird came and sat beside her. "Darling Kakalanna," it chirped, "why do you weep so? The demon has left, and the sun shines once more." "Alas, little bird," Kakalanna said, "Deathloomer has tasked me with collecting 100,000 pebbles, identical to that one, before dawn. If I do not accomplish this, the demon will destroy the city and the forest. Fret not, fair Kakalanna, said the yellow bird. Go home and rest through the night, but come back here before dawn. So Kakalanna made her way home and did her chores for the day. When night came, she went to bed and slept fairly well, waking before dawn and hurrying to the forest. When she arrived, she found a glistening pile of washed pebbles, shining white in the pre-dawn light. All sorts of rodents were scurrying through the undergrowth, or emerging from burrows, or bounding along tree branches to drop the little stones on the heap. Once they had left, the little yellow bird hopped behind a tree to hide. As soon as dawn broke, Deathloomer appeared, scowling at the pile of pebbles. His darkness swelled from black to red to bright orange, and sparks and flashes of lightning ran through the cloud that was its body. Blasts of demonic power lashed out, melting the pebbles into a large white rock sunk into the soil of the forest. Deathloomer seethed with anger. It reached for the hand-shaped shadow with wicked claws extending from the fingers, and lo, there was an iron nail therein. Bring here 100,000 nails of iron before the morning. If you do not do this, I shall lay waste the city and these lands. And the demon disappeared. Kakalanna sat stunned and white with fear, and once again the little yellow bird came and sat beside her. Darling Kakalanna, it chirped, why do you weep so? The demon has left, and the sun shines once more. Alas, little bird, Kakalanna said, Deathloomer has tasked me with collecting 100,000 iron nails before dawn. If I do not accomplish this, the demon will destroy the city and the forest. Fret not, fair Kakalanna, said the yellow bird. Go home and rest through the night, but come back here before dawn. So Kakalanna made her way home, not quite as worried as the previous nights, but still wondering where the wild things would find that many iron nails. She did her chores, and then when it was dark she went to bed. That night the strangest thing happened. Birds carried the message to other animals, and the call spread far and wide. From pots and drawers, from sheds and shelters, pets found one or two discarded nails and set out with them. In mine shafts and in sewers, rats found the nails that fell from workers' pouches. By hunting high and low and by searching the lands, the animals and birds found nails of iron, and these were funneled back to the Vulbos forest, where the little yellow bird was waiting. By the time Kakalanna arrived in the morning, there was a pile of iron nails. Some were shiny and new, some were old and rusted, but there were way more than 100,000 lying there in a glistening pile. At dawn, the demon appeared. It looked at the pile of nails, and the shadows of its form seemed to kindle to a furious yellow-white heat. Deathloomer moved over the mass of iron and melted all the nails into a single lump. Then it slid razor-sharp, smoking hot talons out of its form and advanced on Kakalanna. The city, the forest, and this land are safe from me, said the demon. I hold to my word, and I will not despoil them. But you, O Kakalanna, have no such protection. He tore her apart with his flames, searing her body to nothing, and he caught her soul as it departed with his claws and ripped it to shreds. The parts of Kakalanna's soul were strewn throughout the forest, and then the demon vanished back to the realm of the fiend, to face whatever punishment would be meted out to it. For the fiend was not forgiving of failure. Then the little yellow bird, along with all the other birds of the woods, hunted through the trees and hedges, through ferns and briars, until they found all the parts of Kakalanna's soul. Carrying the scraps in their beaks, they returned to the clearing and carefully pieced her back together. Now Kakalanna should have moved on to the afterlife at this point, but she loved the forest so much that she remained, haunting the woods and still singing to the animals and birds. The little yellow bird flew to the city of Helican, and perched outside a tavern in the city square. It sang a lovely song, such that many of the people stopped to listen, and a minstrel performing in that inn was inspired to sing along, and he found the words for Kakalanna's story. Thus the people of Helican came to know how they had been saved. They made their way to the forest and found the glade where Kakalanna had met with Deathloomer, and they found the quartz boulder and the huge lump of iron. They took the iron back to Helican, and the smiths of the town made a statue of Kakalanna from it. They set this statue on the quartz rock back in the glade, and they gave thanks for their deliverance. The next day, the statue was gone, and no sight nor sign was there of it, save for some deep footprints leading away from the rock into the dark of the forest. It is still said, however, that from time to time travellers or woodfolk may catch sight of a red figure, as of rusty iron, far off through the shadows of the trees, or sounds of fair singing can be heard on the wind, blown through the branches, and in those times the old folk say that Kakalanna still watches over the forest of Vilbos, and they leave gifts of food in the glade of the white stone, for which the little yellow birds of the forest are grateful.